Hey y'all, welcome to Voyage. This is the first episode. We are so happy to have you. Voyage is a fantasy book podcast for enemies and lovers. If you love when there's only one bed left in the inn, if you love when a human girl has latent magical powers and or daddy issues, this might be the podcast for you.
We're going to be recapping our favorite fantasy / mostly romance novels.
Yeah, TBD with like a heavy hand on romantasy. Because that's the most fun.
Should we quickly introduce ourselves? Just quickly, don't worry. We're not going to be one of these podcasts that's like, this is how we met.
Yeah. No, you don't care about us yet. With time you will, but you don't right now, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, we will earn your friendship. Don't worry about it. But
we're going to have a healthy parasocial relationship.
Yes.
Totally. But for now, I'm Dina.
I'm Will.
And I'm Rachel.
And we are your hosts for Voyage. If you need some way to recognize us before we are friends / have healthy parasocial relationships, I, Dina, am the one who might occasionally have a Staten Island accent.
I'm like token male. I feel like in these books, they're always males,
Yeah, he's the guy.
A token male energy.
/ boy boss. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're the boy boss. This is Rachel, and I'm the one who always sounds tranquilized, even when I'm really excited. Okay, I sound a little bit tranquilized, but I swear I'm so pumped for this.
Rachel, one person said that one time, and I don't think it's true.
Thank you.
Okay, so you might be asking yourselves, like, what do we have to offer? Like, what is the source of our expertise? And I can just say, personally speaking, when I turned 11 and I didn't get my owl from Hogwarts, I spent the rest of the day wandering around my backyard with a stick pointing it at things because I just really desperately wanted magic to make my life more interesting.
That's so funny, Will, because around the same time I had read Matilda and I would sit in my bedroom staring at objects in my room and trying to move them. Rachel, did you have a more normal childhood?
No, I wouldn't say so. Certainly not. My childhood, of course, had the Harry Potter of it all, but also I was a Tamora Pierce girly growing up. And if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. But I was really into Lady Knights. And my second AOL screen name was, I believe, Lady Knight 1991.
Wow.
Wow. That's good.
And that was like when you had to have your parents make them for you. So I had to actually ask my dad to do that, which was humiliating, but he was cool about it.
Oh my God, I love that.
Well, all right, that's enough about us. Honestly, too much. So the first book we're reading is Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. So Rachel, what's like a spoiler-free summary of the book that you could offer?
Okay. Giving no more information than it is on, I think, like the book jacket. We have a girl boss, obviously. She's a human girl in a vampire world. She's sort of the adopted daughter of a night king of the vampires. And she's going to enter into a competition, a huge Hunger Games style. Of course, as one must, if one is to come of age, one must enter into a competition with long odds, underdog, with a lot of powerful vampires. And she's going to be a human. She might meet a hot vamp along the way who is originally, one of her competitors, and maybe they'll work together. And I think we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, maybe just like some friendship,
Yeah,
Who
probably
knows?
a platonic friendship.
Yeah.
It's like a great book. So high hopes for the second one, which isn't out at the time we're recording. But this is worth your whatever, $5.
Yeah, if you haven't read it yet, highly recommend. I'd probably give it like a solid 4.5 for me. Good opener to a series. Loved it. Loved every minute of it. Now I'm like, okay, I want more about this world. I want to know what's going to happen, but kind of flew through it.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 4 as well. It was really fun. It was really good. If you like the genre, just read it. It's good. It's fun.
Ditto. I think with that, we should probably transition towards actually doing what this podcast is supposed to. First, just some brief content warnings.
Yeah.
This is literally, I think, what the book says. The content warnings are for violence, torture, off-page, flashback of rape, parentheses, consent withdrawn, self-harm, emotional abuse, slavery, and references to sexual abuse.
Just a few.
Just a
couple. Although we will not linger on any of those.
Yeah.
And also, this is less technical, but worth mentioning that there's a content warning for daddy issues, as, you know, there tends to be in this genre. And
yeah, that's an implied content warning, I think.
Yeah, per usual.
Exactly. Par for the course, really.
Yeah.
In terms of spoiler warnings, basically, you know, we're going to be covering the book over the span of several episodes. You should be aware that you might get some spoilers for the whole book, potentially, although Rachel, I have not finished the book yet, so I think we're going to try to keep me unspoiled for the end of the book. Like, I think I'm in the 30s now, the 30s chapters as we're starting.
Yeah. Although Will and I cannot be held accountable for our sins when it comes to spoilers, or for me making extremely unsubtle references to future plot points.
Exactly.
Certainly not. Okay, should we move ahead? This first episode will kind of get into the start of the book. We'll meet our girl boss, Araya, Daddy Night King, learn a little bit about this vampire world we're going to be spending some time in. Maybe even meet a mysterious hottie. Who can say? Dina, do you want to take us away?
Hell yeah, let's do it. We drop into the book with a bit of a prologue. The first sentence kind of gives away what we're getting into here. The king did not know then that his greatest love would also be his ruination, nor that either would come in the form of a tiny, helpless human child. So we meet Araya. She's a child. She's stuck in the rubble of her burned down home in, I think, like a village or town that's also been completely ruined by, you know, we're guessing war. And 3 vampires land near her. They're about to eat her. She's biting one of their fingers. And all of a sudden, the king lands, which tells me they fly. So we have vampires who fly here. I'm already in. And the king goes to reach for her, lets her bite him, and then immediately calls her his little serpent, which I love. And I've been calling my cat Little Serpent all week.
That's cute. I like that.
I also love that, like, I don't, like, are her teeth that sharp?
Right. Like, presumably they're just children's teeth.
Like, I don't know that many children, but, like...
Nor have you had many children bite down on your fingers.
No, but I feel like, yeah. Like, do they even have teeth? Okay, also, they said the child was...
She has teeth.
Well, I don't know. It says the child was perhaps 4, perhaps 8. I feel like there's, like, a huge difference between a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old. Maybe if you're, like, an immortal vampire, not really.
I think that's right. Maybe not for him, but for us, presumably.
But, like, can 4-year-olds, like, talk? I don't know. I don't know anything about children.
I don't either. I don't know what ages they do things, so...
Okay, well, she is a child. She does have teeth. She's biting him. For some reason, he loves this. He is one of the most powerful and cruel creatures in this entire world, and he decides to adopt her because something warm and bittersweet stirred in his chest at the sight of her, which feels wild to me. And I don't know if it's like, you know, the whole feeling the current of fate, or like seeing something in her, or if there's something else going on here.
Or it's like when you know, it's like you get a stray cat off the street, which, like, I would never do.
Feel
but
like
I
this cat
I believe there are, like, some
yours.
people who kind of have that. Well, Rach did that.
I did.
Okay, so you get the perspective of this deadly vampire.
Yeah, but I also wasn't like, it was more, I wasn't like sort of a vampire king,
Right.
sort of in a war-torn area. I was just sort of like adopted a cat, so.
So parallels, but maybe a bit different.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, at least I appreciate that the book says hundreds of years later, historians would look back at this moment and be like, what the fuck? Why would he do this? Because that's what we ourselves are asking at this point. Chapter 1, we are present day. We meet Araya as we meet all of our favorite girlies in this genre. That is, while she is about to kill some men, in this case, vampires. She does this often. She goes out in the middle of the night to kill vampires, even though she is a human, and this is very dangerous for her. So I'm getting initially Buffy vibes with, say, a Selena Rising.
Wow. I love that.
She's in the human districts of the House of Night, which is the vampire kingdom that she lives in. And the humans are supposed to be safe and protected there. She calls them citizens, even if inferior ones. But feels pretty logical to me that the vampires aren't super big on human rights, and so they clearly hunt humans anyway. Right now, there's a vampire hunting a little boy who, for some reason, is out at night playing, and she drops down on this vampire, does her little tried and true vampire killing routine, finishes killing him, and looks up, and the boy and his whole family are staring at her. She looks at them and she feels super weird around them, and she basically feels like she's looking at zoo animals, even though she is a human. What we're supposed to get from this is like they are not her and they're not the same. And even though she is a human and she knows that, she considers herself to be very different. And she's kind of disgusted by her humanness and her human flaws, and she doesn't like them. And so she doesn't want to kind of confront the fact that she's a human.
Do they seem like they're not like scared of her, right?
I think it's more.
They're probably just like, oh shit, we can curse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're like, what?
They're like,
Who
oh,
is
you just like
that?
murdered a vampire in front of me.
Yeah,
My life is bleak. Which, like, yeah,
right.
I enjoyed that. It said she's done this on hundreds of nights, just like this one, which means she does this
Wow.
like I think we find out shortly she's like 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Right. She's not like a 15-year-old savant.
Right. We have a solid young adult here. She has some level of life experience. Right. She's been doing this hundreds of nights.
Yeah, like people play in the NFL at 23, like you can
Mhm.
one can do things at 23.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people also, don't they play in the NFL at 18? I don't really know. Maybe that's not allowed.
I think actually that's not allowed, but
Okay.
I wouldn't like bet my life on it.
Okay. This is not a
Definitely
sports
don't know.
podcast.
Yeah, no sports.
Don't know.
I have no idea. Okay, so then we follow Araya through the rest of her night, which I will say at first I was like, there's so much happening this night. And then I realized that the night is like the day to them. So it's like a full day, but it's a full night because they exist at night.
Right.
So first thing she does is she's on her way home, but she takes a detour to stop and say hello to her friend Alana, who is an old woman dressed in cascading chiffon dyed in waves of color.
Queen.
We have our girl Ori, who only wears black clothes, functional clothes, her leathers as they do. But Alana is always dressed very colorfully and gives Araya a gorgeous purple and gold scarf. And we learn that Araya loves this kind of stuff, but basically has like a secret drawer in her room where she puts all of these colorful, non-functional clothes that she will never wear.
Because she's like fighting for survival every day of her life. She's no time for such
Totally. Although as soon as I heard about this secret drawer, I was like picturing some kind of montage, like makeover montage, Araya, from like her leathers to like a hot dress.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, she's definitely hot, right? Like she's hot.
I feel like that's a given.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's required in the genre. I think we know that she's hot. I don't really pay attention. I guess she has gray, what does she have? Silver, gray eyes, maybe? Dark hair?
Dark hair, her eyes, they keep calling them something about like moonlight, silver gray.
Mm-hmm.
It's a normal color.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think definitely hot. And of course, she's been training. She's been killing these vampires. She's got to stay fit if she's going to stay alive. So, yeah. Okay, so Araya really likes Alana because Alana isn't like other humans either. And so she feels kind of similar to her in this way, but it's very different because Alana kind of did this to herself and she's voluntarily a blood vendor for some vampires. Most blood vendors don't even survive a year. So it's like, how the heck has this old woman survived this long?
Is she that old? In my mind, she's like 40 something.
I mean, she says she's wrinkly.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
She smokes a lot of cigarillos, so
I'm picturing like grandma status. Like she's got energy, she's got flair, but she's lived a life.
Is the deal like she gets a nicer apartment? Like what is she getting out of being?
I think that's right. I think she lives in the nicer vampire district.
She doesn't have to use she doesn't live in like the human slums.
Right. But I also think and we'll actually get to this because they have a little bit of a tiff, and this kind of comes up because Alana's whole vibe is like wanting to live an exciting, adventurous life. And I think that's actually part of why she's there. So Araya and Alana get into a bit of a tiff about the Kajari that's about to happen. So the Kajari is a vampire tournament that happens once every century. And Araya wants Alana to leave the inner city when the Kajari starts because she's afraid for her, given how they sometimes use humans in trials. And also there's going to be lots of other vampires around. And so Araya is just like, can you please just keep yourself safe and go out to the human districts, even just for a little bit. And Alana, this is when we kind of learn her vibe, is like, bah, safety's overrated. What kind of life is that? I risk my life every day to be here. It becomes a rebellion not to care. So she has that kind of attitude. And Alana eventually agrees to at least go away for the first few days of the Kajari to keep herself safe. And so Araya gives the scarf that she had just given her back to Alana. Araya's not the only one pissed. Alana is also pissed at Araya for entering the tournament, even though neither of them specifically say that out loud. And that is very fair. It seemed wild to me that this human is entering a vampire tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll get into this at some point, but it does seem to me just like if you find yourself in a kind of like fantasy or fantasy adjacent situation and like an older woman kind of gives you advice, I feel like you usually should follow it.
Yeah, but you never will.
Yeah, like the youth never will, but you should follow it.
Yeah. And I think as we'll learn with Araya, she has these two people in her life who she cares about. And I think she is pulled into the other direction by the other person, Vincent, her dad, the Daddy King.
Daddy Night King.
Who we will talk about. But Alana is annoyed at him. She's like, I can't believe he's making you do this. Araya is very much like, he's not making me.
No, like I want to. It's my choice.
Right. Which, questionable, some might say.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. So Araya and Alana, they make up. Alana's going to go away and stay safe. Araya's going to enter the tournament. They like say some mean things to each other, which like means they love each other. And Araya heads out and she goes back to her chambers in the palace or castle. But of course she's sneaking back in. So she has to like climb up the rocks to get in. And it's like a night of pouring rain. And she's just like casually scaling this entire wall.
It's like, I don't know. Yeah, like I get it's just I think it is just there's like fantasy where it tries to be a little more like gritty and realistic. And then there's just ones where you have to just sort of like take it with the flow. Like, yeah, she's gonna be like an expert wall climber. It's fine.
Totally. So she gets back to her room just in time because Vincent shows up. And he is immediately like doing dad things and saying her room is messy. And she's doing daughter things and making fun of him. And he calls her an insolent brat, little serpent. And she notes that he never sounded more affectionate than when he was insulting me.
Uh-oh.
And I love a good neg, but that feels like such a red flag.
Yeah.
We also learn here that Vincent has pale blonde hair.
Yeah, which obviously I'm like, okay, Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah. So you're saying he's evil.
Right. What I'm getting here is that he's evil because we don't trust blonde men, and we definitely don't trust blonde immortal men. Vincent is clearly very scared for her, and he wants to continue to train for the Kajari. So he's being the ruthless trainer. She's thinking about how she never lets anybody except him get this close to her and how much he's cared for her whole life. He's cared for her wounds. He's guarded her. And this is doing what it's meant to. I'm getting very conflicted about this guy and what his motivations are and what he cares about.
Can I just say, I was really, okay, so when I first read this book, pre-pod, at some point at the beginning of the book, I convinced my boyfriend to like read it to me one night because there's no audiobook and like I need the audiobook. It was my bedtime and I convinced him to read somewhere in the first like 20 or so pages to me. And like maybe it's like the House of the Dragon of it all. But we had moments in the beginning where we were a little concerned about, we're like, is this, because I also didn't read the back of the book or anything. I didn't know the premise. And we're like, please tell me that this is not, am I crazy?
No, I think it's like there. I think it's there.
There's a couple things like he was my fault. I think, and so at some point Mark read some line and then he just literally was like, okay, we're done. I'm done with this. And like put the book down and like left. And I couldn't find what it was, but like, I don't know. There was like, He says at some point, she says, he was my father in name only, or like something like that. And I was like, what?
Ugh.
And then
I
like,
think
I
it's
never let anyone get this close to me. I was like, please tell me this is not happening.
I think it's just in this genre how everything is written in a way that is vaguely sexual, even when they're like mid battle with demons.
Like, because Vincent has to be like from the female gaze, like sexy as a character. I feel like we've come into this in like other books too, right? And it makes it, you get like confused, like, oh, is this like Oria's view of him, or is this like
The general female gaze that we're supposed. Okay, I got what you're saying. Like he's hot and strong too, but we only have her POV to work with right now,
yeah?
which
Although
is
she
Right.
is like, wow, he has like such long wings.
Does she say that?
Well, like, no, but kind of. They were long enough that the tips nearly brushed the floor.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay, so they're training, and during this training scene, we end up getting a lot of world building. Number one is magic. It seems like there's a pretty random distribution of magic across vampires. Like some vampires have it, some don't. You can't quite like tell who has it or not. And there's a couple of different types of magic. Vincent has something called Asteris, which is one of the most powerful kinds of magic. You know, the classic kind of pure energy derived from the stars, blinding black light capable of killing instantly, the usual, which means he's, of course, very strong, very deadly. Vincent has tried to teach Araya magic, but she's only able to conjure little sparks, which are quote unquote pathetic compared to the skill of a vampire magic user. So key here for me is like, human with latent magical powers.
Yeah, definitely. And like, but like, why? It's weird that like humans can have magic in this.
I thought the magic was like, frankly, I have like a bit of a problem with the world building here. It just seems like she's sort of written herself a blank check, and she's like, I can sort of, what's it called? Deus ex machina. Deus ex machina.
Yeah.
Like I can just kind of like do whatever I want with the magic. I feel like one of the keys to like fantasy that I really enjoy is they sort of set some ground rules and then they like follow it, because otherwise you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like but right. So it's like I think there's there's an allusion to humans being able to do magic, which is fine, but it's never explained the like realm of what is normal versus not normal. Like I think earlier when she kills that vamp in the alleyway, she's like, oh, he must not have magic because like otherwise why didn't he like spirit her away or spirit the little boy away to like finish killing him? And it's like, okay, so like some vampires can teleport. That's like, that seems like, you know.
Well, I do think she was talking about him spiriting his wings away. But also, wait, then if a vampire doesn't have magic, does he just have his wings out the whole time? Can he not put them away?
I don't know. I think the point is that it's like we're building through like an iterative process here, but it doesn't seem to me like there's like a whole lot of rules around who has magic and why and when.
No, I agree. I would like to know more of the rules. Maybe we'll get that eventually, but right now all we know is it's random and it seems to be, as you know, Will, designed to suit the plot at any given moment.
Which, like, fair play.
Right. Okay, so we get a little bit about the magic. We also get a little bit of information about the Hiaj versus the Rishan. Do we think I'm saying those correctly?
No one knows.
Okay, great. So there's the House of Night, and Vincent is the king of the House of Night. And there are two rival vampire clans that basically fight for control of the House of Night every century or two. The Hiaj, which is Vincent and his whole thing, and then the Rishan, which are their rivals. And they've basically been at constant war since the goddess Neaxia created vampires more than 2,000 years ago. Do we know why? No. Would I like to know why? Sure.
Well, they have different wings, and like that's, I don't know, it's like kind of hard to get over.
Oh, maybe it's just kind of the innate tribalism of their different wings.
Yeah. I mean, this is like another ongoing like fantasy problem is like the like fantasy speciesism, like coding as race, like essential racism in like a troubling way. But it basically seems like, you know, they have feather wings. I sort of feel like the Hiaj have like bat wings is like how I was thinking about it.
Yep. And she does say that at one time. The Hiaj have the featherless wings that are like membranous skin, like a bat. So definitely picturing Illyrian warrior bad boys with the Hiaj
Yeah.
versus the Rashan who have feathered wings. Also notable is that each of the clans tend to always have one heir, right? Like the heir to the throne. And maybe that person's on the throne or maybe they're not. And the heirs only know they're heirs because of the heir marks. And that's basically like red marks on wings or like a tattoo on their body. So Vincent has heir marks. He has this like ornate red tattoo on his neck, which seems hot. And that's how everybody knows that he's the heir. The other thing that we learn is that so there's the House of Night, but there's also the House of Shadow and the House of Blood, and those are different vampire kingdoms in the same country, continent, area, land of Neaxia.
I do want to say, just because I feel like I came across like two critical moments ago, like I do find this very interesting and compelling. I'm such a sucker for like there's like a different little sub kingdom over there, and like how do they dress? Like what's their deal? And I will say that like there are constant allusions throughout to like human kingdoms, and we don't even really like get the DL on them ever. So it's like you have this kind of like vague sense that there is even a much bigger world out there than the one we're in, which I like. That's like very appealing.
I love that. And it gets me excited for future books and where these characters might go, for sure. So we learned about magic. We learned about these vampire tribes, essentially. We also get a bit more information about the Kajari itself. We are getting close to the start of it, but nobody has it on like a shared calendar or anything. It could start really at any time. It happens near the full moon, but Neaxia likes it to be unexpected. So basically be on high alert because it could start at any time. And what we learn about this tournament is that it's a once in a century tribute to Neaxia. It's 5 trials over 4 months, and there's only one winner, with the prize being a gift from the goddess herself. So you can ask her for something, for anything, I assume. And vampires from all 3 of these houses travel to participate. Some of the most powerful warriors from the House of Night, the House of Shadow, the House of Blood, and most people die in pursuit of this honor. Araya's like, yeah, I'm most likely going to die here. But it never says, like, this isn't exactly like Hunger Games where it's like every single person must die, but it does kind of allude to that. So I feel like she's giving herself some loopholes here, but
she being
we are made
Neaxia.
to think. I was thinking she like Carissa Broadbent.
Oh, yeah. True.
But also
Both.
Also Neaxia. Yeah. But most people die, it seems. Obviously, there is a big feast to welcome the competitors of the Kajari, and Vincent takes Araya to essentially check out the competition. He walks around this feast with her. He's guarding her very vehemently, and he's pointing out the different competitors and their weaknesses or things that she should know about them. And we meet a few characters here that are going to come up again. They are walking around, and Vincent points out Ibrahim, and Araya cannot believe that Ibrahim is entering the competition. Ibrahim is a young vampire. He's meek. He has mutilated gums, jarringly absent of canine teeth, and a hobbled left leg because his parents had pinned him down and removed his teeth and ruined his leg. So he is at a weakness entering this competition. And we learn that this actually kind of happens a lot because of immortality, the succession from, who's running whatever house or whoever's lord of whatever house is very bloody, and vampires will often kill their parents that they could get power.
Part of me is like, I don't know, you could have a kind of like abundance, like pro-housing agenda that might solve some of these problems. But at the same time, it's like that thing they say where it's like, whatever, like they're always like, oh, well, like that like boy can't become a man until his father dies or whatever. And so like that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this.
Right. It's like you probably could just create a new lord name and a new estate, and
like you're immortal. You have some time to figure it out. Start a podcast.
Right. There's so much that you could do, but alas, that's the situation we're working with. We also meet Jasmine, Vincent's new general / head of his guard. and she is super hot. She's wearing a low-cut red dress. She keeps her wings out. She's revealing both generous cleavage and a large white scar going up her sternum because apparently she once survived a staking, which is also very hot.
Which I also, this is another thing I enjoyed. I feel like there's this kind of like this whole take on fantasy, which is like, let's take a monster you're familiar with, but then defy all the conventions about the monster. And I
yep.
enjoy that this is like, no, like they don't go outside in the day. They can be staked and die. You know, we're kind of staying within the classic tradition, which because so many people have tried to ditch it is like refreshing.
Yeah. But they have wings, which again means a lot to me, right? Because they don't usually have wings.
I guess not.
Well, I mean, they can turn into bats, right?
Not always.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah. No, sure.
We're checking out the competition. We're meeting a couple people. Vincent and Jasmine go off to have some kind of serious conversation. And of course, as she's standing alone, her eyes fall to the other side of the room where
Wait,
there is.
sorry. I'm so
Yep.
sorry. I just feel
Yep.
like there's like an important plot point we missed,
Oh, go ahead.
which is that like apparently it's rare for a woman to achieve the rank of general. And so like sexism, like the patriarchy still rules the House of Night.
Right. Right.
Wow.
The patriarchy exists, and Jasmine is a girl boss, and we salute her for it.
We love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, our girl boss Jasmine is talking to Vincent, and Araya is standing by herself. She's at her guard, and her eyes fall to the other side of the room where there is, as you might guess, a mysterious figure.
Ugh.
He is far from the dance floor. He's away from everybody else. He's not like everybody else. He is staring at a painting, a small painting of a Rashan vampire falling from the sky that Araya really likes, but most people just tend to ignore it.
Wow. He likes art.
Yeah, he likes art. He's cultured. This is what we're getting.
Oh my gosh.
We also learn that he's taller than most vampires and broad. His hair is dark red, nearly black, and fell across his shoulders in rough waves. And he has rust-colored eyes.
We pause on both of these items because, first of all, I don't really know how hair can be so dark red it's almost black.
Me neither.
Yeah.
It's like a bottle of wine.
Oh, hot. I feel like we're suspending disbelief about a lot of things here, so I feel comfortable doing that with the the dark red.
Yeah. No, I mainly want to say with that, but also with the red eyes, I simply am declining to picture him with red eyes.
I think I am too. I don't think I did that.
Yeah. Red eyes aren't hot.
No, it's kind of weird.
Like a stoplight red. Like that's like awful. You know, like maybe like a maroon I could like eventually get behind, but even then.
I think when she says rust, I'm more picturing a dark gold, which I know is not the same thing, but that feels hotter to me.
Okay. Well, we're each on our own journeys. I mean, obviously, Will is not really on any of these journeys because he suffers from aphantasia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Aphantasia.
Aphantasia?
Look it up on Reddit because it's perhaps not a real thing, but it is real. I like
Yeah,
it's real.
Don't.
No, poor Will can't picture any of this mysterious figure's hot body or red eyes.
Yeah, I can't picture things in my head, but I can like think about it, you know?
Right, right. In my head, I'm picturing a bit of Jamie from Outlander, but with darker features.
Ugh, he is hot. But like early seasons of Outlander, I was like just like
Of course.
like a promo like reached my little eyeballs at one point of like the new season, and I'm just like, I don't know, man.
Are they like 85 at this point? Like,
Yeah, and he's just like not really doing it for me anymore. And I really liked him in a kilt, and I don't like it when he's like wearing other clothes.
No, it's tough. It's tough for all of us to go through that. But yeah, that's what I'm getting. Kind of like early Jamie Outlander, darker features. I am noting at this point that there's a lot of red associated with him. And, you know, that said, we'll just move on. Araya is kind of staring at him when she is approached by a tall, willowy, curly-haired woman who's kind of like bubbly and smiling and is just offering her food like it's nothing. And of course, Araya is extremely suspicious of this person being nice to her. At this moment, Vincent calls her and she leaves with him, and we basically get set up here for the tournament to start. So Araya has to do her little blood gift. And so they do that. They're having a bit of a conversation. We learn a couple things here. Number one is Araya's motivation. So we know that she is from a Rashan part of the world. That's where Vincent found her. And she wants to go back there. She wants to see if there's any of her family that is still alive, but she can't do that as a human because it's too dangerous. So she wants to instead enter this tournament to the death where she would win, and then she gets to ask for a gift, and then she would be strong enough to go back to see her family. And we also learn the gift she wants to ask for. And that gift, or her wish, would be to become Vincent's Coriate. My Latin training is failing me. Is that how you guys said it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. You know, we don't know how they pronounce things. This is what my 9th grade Latin teacher told me. We don't know how they pronounce things. And I don't know if that's true. So, but I'm going to say that that is true. If you have a problem, please look up Mr. Well, actually, I won't provide his name.
Let's not dox your old Latin
No,
teacher.
we won't.
From our many, many listeners.
Okay, so we're going with Coriate, and what that means is she would be his heartbound, which means they would essentially share their powers, or she would get his powers. So this is a very powerful bond. It's only been granted a few times throughout history. It has to be a god or goddess that grants it, and this would make her a vampire without the risks of turning. It would bind her soul to Vincent, and his power would become hers, and, you know, hers his, even though she does not have much to offer him, as she notes, which I will say seems sus to me.
And also, per Rachel's earlier comment, the whole like heart-bound binding one souls to one in like a is like not a traditional father-daughter relationship.
Right.
That's a really good point.
At the very least, it's extremely codependent.
Yeah, it's just a little bit weird. Also, my thing with him being like, no, it's too dangerous for you to go there. Like, surely if he wanted to make it happen for her to go visit, he probably could, I feel, without all of this.
Yeah, his excuses are
Well, and I mean, now I guess I feel like Dina alluded to it. The logic is like, well, like turning you. Like, I guess like when vampires in this world turn humans, they quite often die. But at one point,
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. But like, so instead you enter like a death competition. Like, are the odds
Yeah.
better there? It just like doesn't really track.
right. The odds appear to be like 9 out of 10. And I'm not extremely good at math, but it feels like statistically speaking, this is a dumb move. And so there's obviously more happening here from his motivational perspective. But she doesn't
Yeah.
see that. I don't know.
I also just listen, I'm getting vulnerable here. I'm afraid because again, I haven't finished the book. So I don't know, but turning back to the point that she was born in Rishan territory. I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but I just feel that there's something more going on there. And maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but is she a long lost? Was she really like just a human born in a wee human home there? I don't know. It seems like there could be something going on there. Maybe something to do with, oh, I don't know, rain.
Will and I are just sitting
So-
here with like, Will has his hand covering his smile. I don't know, Rachel. It might be some of those things. It might be none of those things. It's
Wow.
unclear at this time.
Okay. I just want to plant that flag. Your responses have, to be honest, given a lot, maybe given a decent amount away.
I actually don't think they have. I
Okay.
really don't think they have, but
And also, by the way, do you like me being like, again, making one of the most obvious observations and predictions of all time in like a fantasy genre of like, oh, seems like there's something going on with this. Doesn't really take a genius.
No, on the contrary, I think we like you're here to bring your sort of like a deep literary insights and expertise. So we appreciate that.
That's true. Anyway, I just wanted to, plant that flag in the ground. I'm sure we'll circle back.
totally. This whole time I was trying to figure out what Vincent's deal was, because it definitely seems like he's not telling her everything, but I can't tell if this is more of a like Draco's parents where they just like really like, does he just like love her and want to protect her? Or is he being a little finger to her Sansa, and is he just manipulating her to get what he wants. It seems to me like he's somewhere in the middle. He definitely does care about her, but he definitely has some other agenda here that we don't know about yet. Okay, so Ryan and Vincent finish their conversation. They do her blood gift to Neaxia. They say a couple prayers. Araya offers her life to her and is like, I will give you my victory or I will give you my death, which is pretty dramatic, but, I guess so is death.
True.
And I think that is a great place for us to end.
Death is dramatic. You heard it here first.
These are the kind of insights that you're going to get if you come back next time.
Yeah, no, like deep, like freshman year of high school level analysis for sure.
If that.
Guys, this was so fun.
I know.
This was so fun. And please do come back next time. We have our fun little tournament starts.
Our fun little tournament to the death. Can't wait.
Yeah, just a dramatic little fun tournament to the death. Catch us next time. In the meantime, follow us on TikTok and Instagram at FaywatchPod. Hit us up on email. All the usuals.
And we'll see you next time.